Hi, my name is Ryan Klee. I'm an engineer. I do product design at Stanley Black & Decker, mainly focused on the DeWalt brand. Before that, I was designing computer chips, and before that, I worked in defense. So my speech is going to be kind of a personal narrative with some systems engineering, a little philosophy, and a little self-help mixed in. So I hope you like it. Yeah, let's get going. So I majored in engineering in college, which meant I had to be very focused, 13-hour study sessions, 10 pages of equations just to solve one problem. If you ever taken mechatronics, you appreciate that. But I also had to carefully budget all my free time. And then I graduated, and it seemed like I had infinite possibilities, infinite free time. I could do whatever I want. But a funny thing happened, because I ended up doing less of the things that really made me happy than when I was super busy. Given this infinite freedom, I was almost paralyzed. And then I ended up wasting all my time, or worse, investing in things that were self-destructive, and feeling kind of all these negative emotions: regret, frustration, anxiety, stress, overload. And then at this point, I kind of need to acknowledge the idea of existentialism, because what I'm really describing is what philosophers would call the anguish of choice. So existentialism dictates that existence precedes essence, and it is for humans to set our own purpose. Or put another way, I create myself through what I do. So being an engineer, this kind of really speaks to me, I create myself through what I do, so I can design my own vision for how I want to view my life, and if I'm going to view it, I can engineer my own happiness, right? So if I'm going to engineer something, why not use some of the same principles used on these complex systems, jet aircraft or, complex robotics, and some of these same, design cycle life principles. So here's a typical development cycle that's used to design many products. First, you analyze the user's needs, the needs of the user. Then you develop a concept, generate requirements, design, and then implement. So looking at my needs for happiness, I found I needed two things. One was enjoyment, which is day-to-day, living in the moment, watching Netflix. And then two is meaning or purpose in life, right? So the combination of both these things led to long-term happiness and well-being. And then I looked at developing a concept. So this is what we really call a concept of operations, right? So I have all these things in my environment that influence how I feel and then, lead to my happiness or unhappiness. So I don't want you to read all this, but just kind of appreciate everything. And then I looked at all the different categories and weighted them based on their importance to me. So maybe this is different for you. And then I generated requirements or, goals in each of these different categories. And so next, I'll show you how to write a requirement. So this is how you write a requirement. The requirement is, I shall whitewater kayak. You set a spec range, a threshold of 4 times, and an objective of 10 times. A time limit, I always set 1 year. And then you decompose that requirement with your specs. And then finally, you implement. Basically, complete all your requirements. So this is where I am for the year, just FYI. And next, I'll show you some of the things that are on my list. So I always try to read as many books as I can. And this is, I used to read, like religiously as a kid, but now I have to actually make an effort. So these are the 8 books I read last year. And that top one is over 1,000 pages, so I had to put that on there. So I have buried 4 treasures on 4 islands that pirates have or supposedly have treasure buried. And yes, there's a treasure map hidden somewhere, and no, I won't tell you where it is, but happy hunting. Yeah. So kayaking is another big part of my life. And this kind of fulfills some of my need to be physical and active. And so kayaking is something, especially whitewater kayaking, where you can't just get up and do it. You got to plan it and get people together, go with you, and look at rapids. Another thing, speaking of my engineer, is inventing and creating. So this is last year at the hackathon. So I'm trying to create, with my team here, a haptic shirt that gives you feedback into the computer. And I think I'm about 5 hours into trying to develop the Bluetooth, and it was not going bad. So this is one last point that's staying in touch with old friends. So, all these guys live a couple blocks away from me, and, I have to make an effort to see them. And I try to. Yeah. Yeah. So another thing is explore. So if you go, for those who don't know, this is Fort Carroll Island, which is at the mouth of Baltimore Harbor, and it was built in the mid-1800s to protect Baltimore from another War of 1812. So some complications you may run into is you verify, but you did not validate. I did all your requirements, but you're still unhappy. So the answer is, just repeat and keep fixing things, and then it's a spiral development cycle. So lastly, just, be happy and enjoy life. Thanks.